keep us with propaganda. Okay, their whole goal is to sell us propaganda. Oh, we're live. We're live. Thumbs up. You can go to the chat room, and in the chat room, you can basically leave comments if you don't want to call us up at 516-418-5867. Okay, thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Let them know. ScrewTube had told me that basically I'm supposed to be getting all kind of monetization capabilities at this point, right? So I hope that happens. We worked on the sound for not only just for ScrewTube, but also for Blog Talk Radio. So if the sound is a little bit loud, that's because we've been working with the sound, because I don't want y'all calling in and say y'all can't hear me. As long as y'all can hear me on YouTube, then that's where I want you to go and listen to the podcast. Okay? Like, share, subscribe. Number is 516-418-5867 if you want to call in. 516-418-5867 is the number to call in. We got that on the live screen on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about Dr. Umar Johnson versus Kevin Samuels. And we'll be discussing those issues and what that is all about. And then, of course, Tariq Nasdeed's new film, Butt Breaking, is out. It's an Amazon bestseller. Also, it's been selling also on Tubi. So we basically are going to also discuss that today on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. We'll talk about that today. Yes, last Thursday, remember we was talking about what happened to Julius Jones. So update, like I said, that they're now waiting to see if he's going to get a commutation hearing in the courts, from the Pardon and Parole Board, which the governor, which is a Republican governor, he has the last say so. So you already got the Attorney General saying, well, he shouldn't get a commutation hearing. So there you go. So you still got some of them down, these real hardcore Republicans that is not wanting this man out of jail. Okay. And so we talked about that last Thursday, but today we're going to be talking about Dr. Johnson versus Kevin Samuels. The number to call in is 516-418-5867. You're listening to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. If you want to call in, you can. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, family. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Let's see what we got here. Hold on. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, so today we're talking about Dr. Umar Johnson versus Kevin Samuels. We're going to discuss what the argument about. I heard Philip Scott from the African diaspora. Every time that Phil do a commentary, I listen to Phil, and then I come in and do a commentary because I like his point of view moreover a little bit more as far as the people who talk about certain issues online. So today we're going to be talking about Dr. Umar Johnson versus Kevin Samuels and the debate of what that's all about, talking about high value women and all that, all what that is all about here. But first, we're going to get into talking about Butt Breaking. Tariq Nasdeed's documentary just went and came out. It is on Amazon and Tubi. Also, they said that it basically was last week or so, it was at #1 selling on Amazon there. And of course, it had people like, of course, Tariq was in it, Riza Islam, Dr. Randy Short, Corey Holcomb, Judge Joe Brown, Wesley Hammond, and the lovely Erica Lachey was also among others. And the film talks about how the slaves, the black male slaves, and how you destroy their masculinity, how the slave master destroyed masculinity, and what they're doing in Hollywood right now. See, the music industry is all about sacrificing certain artists so that the companies can make money off your royalties when they basically try to kill you and shoot and kill you and you die. They have to be very, 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 very barbaric, and they have to really commit a lot of crime and murder or pay somebody to do it. That's how the music industry, like your Michael Jacksons, finding a doctor to overdose you so you can die in the hospital, they have to be very, very, very strategic in how you are murdered in the music industry. But the movie industry, I often talk to you, is not really about the same thing. It used to be, but now the satanic people who runs the movie industry has said, well, we don't need to kill you. We basically can keep around a Denzel Washington who makes millions of dollars, or somebody else like Will Smith. We don't care about you making millions of dollars, but what we can do is we can butt break you. Okay? And you see this in Hollywood with Terry Crews and Billy Porter, and now Malik Yoga, who has came out. People in the 90s used to like Malik Yoga. We thought that this man was straight. We thought that this man was pretty much a fan favorite among masculine men. Now we're finding out he is supporting the transsexuals and LGBT stuff. And basically we're looking and saying, wait a minute, are you doing this for money? And are you really thinking that, that the LGBT community and these transsexual people really like you? Is you're trying to then reach to that, to basically get them to be your fans? I mean, what is going on here? They got Billy Porter out here all in dresses and stuff. So this is what we're saying. We're talking about the music industry versus the music industry versus the film industry. Like I said, the film industry is like, man, we're not going to kill you or anything. We're not gonna put no poison into your salad when we invite you over. What we'll do is we'll just basically, all you have to do is just put on a dress. Okay? That's all you got to do. Put on a dress and engage in the ideal of destroying your masculine energy around us. Our good sister, the lovely Erica Lachey, said in the movie, Butt Breaking, Tariq Nasdeed's movie, she said that it is an agenda to decrease our population, the stage of abomination. Now, when our sister Erica Lachey said that, and in fact, we need more beautiful Black women saying, speaking truth to power, because when that happens, basically you get as young girls and young men at a very young age to start listening to what is going on here. But see, when the movie industry put Billy Porter out there in these dresses, when they put people like Malik Yoga and Terry Crews and Van Rhymes, all of these people who have to be butt broken in order to get a role, in order to get money, that is an issue that we're having in the Black community. So just to rehash and not to be redundant, but That's what we mean when we say that there's a difference between the music industry and the film industry. Like I said, the music industry is more about killing you so they can get all the money and the receipts, because nobody probably will claim the money if the family is not aware, and they're not aware of the contract within the music industry. Then all of the royalties and stuff and who's on it is tied up into probate court, and before you know it, the company and the distribution companies is entitled to the money if the family is not claiming it when the artist dies. Okay, so we have to be very, very, very important. See, this is the reason why they call the Black grassroots the media for the grassroots, because we delve deep into the whole issues here. That's the reason why they call the Lawyer Henderson TV show the C-SPAN of the grassroots, the PBS hour of the grassroots, because we also appeal to the nerdy blacks. We also appeal to the Black intellectuals who do look at this in a sense then of applying to a Harvard or a Yale University. See, we're basically, not only are we competing with white folks, just the average white people who are engaging in this these abominations and killings and murders against us, we also got people who are dealing with the so-called intellectual white folks that engages, like Dr. Fauci and all these others, and giving us this medication. And that's what they're having their problem with. You see, they didn't know that we were going to get very intelligent and now understanding how, molecules works and how the X chromosomes and other types of chromosomes and how that doesn't work into your body and how it moves and how this medication is destroying your insides and killing off your T cells. They didn't think that we have any Black people who were knowledgeable of that chemical imbalance and such, you see. And so that's the reason why when you go onto YouTube pages like mine and others, they always talk about, well, learn about the COVID-19 here. Click here to get an alternative review. Okay, you could do that. Okay, but let's not get off the subject here. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Today we're talking about Dr. Johnson, Umar Johnson versus Kevin Samuels, and the situation of a lot of women waiting so late, Black women waiting so late to get married and still wanting a high value man. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But the butt-breaking movie by Tariq Nasdeed now has a lot of people in the LGBT community upset. The LGBT and Fox News and all these people came hammering down on Tariq Nasdeed immediately before the whole film really came out. You see, but this is how people in Black males in Hollywood can get roles. They can only get roles if they're wearing dresses. You can only get a role like Tyler Perry if you're wearing dresses. This is the contracts that you can get if you basically can emasculate yourself. You understand? That's the reason why the butt-breaking movie by Tariq Nasdeed was very necessary. I wanted to see, John Amos and the lady who played his wife, I forget her name, but she basically, they were upset because, what was the character's name? The guy who was playing Junior in the film. He was in that particular TV show. They didn't like the fact that he was always acting a fool, always acting silly. So they got rid of John Amos as, after I think the third or fourth season, they got rid of him. And they wanted to make sure that this family that you're seeing on TV in the 70s could be emasculated by getting rid of the Black man first. You understand? We also now see television shows, if we rewind it, we now see television shows now where you hardly have Black men playing roles with Black women in these relationships here. Remember in the 1980s and early 90s, we had shows like Family Matters that taught us about the typical nuclear family. But now we don't have those types of shows no more. Okay, we used to have in the 90s shows like Martin and other shows that, even though it was kind of funny and Martin had to dress up like a woman and all these types of things, still yet we had the relationship, the black love relationships there. Okay. But now they're trying to destroy us in general. They try to not only multiculturalize our communities by bringing all these people over here from other countries that we don't know, specifically from Mexico, to undermine black people. Not only are they doing that, but the game now is abomination. The game is to emasculate and to show that on TV. You understand? So when we talk there about the film Butt Breaking, we must recognize that this is a film that we can basically use and to educate ourselves in the black community as to looking at shows and not supporting shows that show this type of propaganda. I mean, when this film first hit, the LGBT community was upset. They were heated. The gay community, all these people, they were upset that this movie came out. And it has some great scholars and people in it. Like I said, Riza Islam and Dr. Wesley Muhammad and Judge Joe Brown and Erica Lachey, Dr. Randy Short. Our sister Vicky Dillard was supposed to be in it, but I think they said that she couldn't be in it. And that's another sister who I listen to a great deal. She's very educated and very informative. But B1 Daily News is reporting that black film director Tariq Nasdeed has created another hit. This is this time examining forced homophobia and medical manipulation into his latest film, Butt Breaking. Butt Breaking, Nasheed's seventh documentary, opened for a streaming and theatrical viewing this weekend and has dominated on Tubi and Amazon viewership rating listings. But viewership isn't the only gold medal the Black History documentary is receiving. Okay? Butt Breaking has this continues to it says Butt Breaking has also been listed as the #1 best-selling as well as a documentary listing on Amazon, the largest streaming platform on the planet Earth. This continues the long trend of black grassroots film successes, kicked off by 7 a.m., a groundbreaking black documentary covering the state of Black America that was created by critically acclaimed director and producer Jason Black. Okay? Now, listen, because both of these young men I'm aware of, and I don't really have a lot of critique on Tariq Nasdeed, even though that, of course, I got certain things that I do basically criticize him on. But one of the things that I have to basically respect about him and Jason Black is that they did not use the white media, to basically do their documentaries and to release their documentaries. They didn't take the typical Hollywood route. I'm not saying that they did not use the Hollywood system, because you can still use the Hollywood system, but still you basically don't have to, get a distribution deal through the companies, and I'm very well aware of that. But basically the LGBT, Fox News, and all these people were upset because it was not a documentary that was going to be based upon, showing butt-breaking situation in films like we've seen in Terry Crews and how he putting on dresses, and we see Billy Porter the same way and Tyler Perry. This was so different that the Hollywood studios were upset, because not just Hollywood studios, but the white folks in media, they were the main ones, because now you have a film that is counterproductive, and it's a film that basically then is going to then, start to talk about, wait a minute, why are y'all pushing this sexuality up on us and black men in general? Why are y'all pushing the LGBT agenda up on black people? What is that about? Well, as our sister Erica Lachey taught us in the movie, it's about what? Abomination. It's about basically breaking the black man just like they did in slavery, by using the same techniques. Because see, even though the white supremacists let you go and enslave let your ancestors go, but you still have the mental issue there. Okay, the mental issue is still there with us. Like a lot of black folks, the mental issue is still in their mindset. Okay, and that's what the interviews was about. Judge Joe Brown and Wesley Muhammad, and I think one of them said that if you want to learn about what white supremacists and the slave master was doing, he practiced all of this on the white woman. And remember, the white woman was practiced before, even a sense in Europe, before you even know about the history of the Europeans when they came and enslaved us, but they practiced the same kind of brutality on their own women. Okay? And so when they basically practiced this on their own women, it basically, as some of the people were saying in the documentary, it shows that if they're going to then destroy black men, to identify the masculine of white men, that they have to then project the black men as being feminine and not masculine. The ideal here is that we look at a Malik Yoga, and regardless of whether or not he can say that, oh, well, I'm doing this because it's a role in the film, or I just support the LGBT community, and I have no problem with supporting this, but you cannot put this stuff out and just try to just force it up on people and try to say that y'all struggle is equated to the civil rights movement. And that's where we as black men say that you're wrong. We as black people in general say that you're wrong. Let me rephrase that. Because when I heard the sisters in here in this film, it was like, wow. But they broke down in the project that we can learn a lot about how Hollywood and how the history of slavery has done this to black men in Hollywood, and how it now affect us mentally when we see this on our TV screens. We have to be very careful because we're going to come back to that. The article goes on to talk there about in B1 Daily News, hoping that my fair use is still going here, that in the latest chronicles of the black media success, Nasdeed recaptures the information-based appeal of hidden colors while focusing on the acts of degradation, torture, and manipulation used against blacks during and after the Antebellum Holocaust. Okay? It's real. It's gritty. It was like I could take my eyes away just knowing that something like that went down, and we're still here. They went after the vulnerable, but we couldn't be beaten, and Tariq brings that to light, said one of Amazon viewers of the film. Okay. From Riza Islam to Judge Joe Brown and even Dr. Randy Short, Nasdeed brings together many of black community's top scholars to give the rundown on white supremacy's century-old tactics. You see, white folks do the same thing to us over and over and over and over and over and over again. It is black people who just don't get it. They use the same kind of games. They play the same kind of games with us. When we talk there about racism and how they do things, it's just black folks who play dumb. But it goes on to say here that the black community would like to give props to Mr. Nasdeed on his success of his most recent film. Hell, if the grassroots keep producing historically popular films, the black community might even need to consider an international award ceremony. Barrington Williams, the B1 Daily, is writing here. Okay, that's very important. Because if we can then shine light on how Hollywood is depicting brothers in the film, and then depicting black women as ghetto and hood rats and all this stuff within the film, the films and stuff, we can now then be able to understand what we must pick off at when we are writing televisions and screens, doing TV and films and stuff. So what we're looking for here is that Nasdeed now finally, and as he done before, has given us a film to show that this is how they've been breaking us in a sense. But then most importantly, not using, of course, the typical Hollywood, but doing his own self-distribution and basically working with the studios in what they call forewalling in order to get the message down, out to the masses of Black people, to basically then say that the nuclear family has been destroyed, right? And why has the Black nuclear family been destroyed? Why do you see certain types of Black women who are more masculine than Black men, looking more meaner than Black men? Be ready to fight you. You know what I'm saying? Like, where is this coming from? A lot of women, of course, with testosterone, have a lot of testosterone inside their bodies, causing them to fight and to act in a masculine way that turn men off. Okay, somebody talk Black to me. So now what we're talking about is the changing of roles of men versus women in the Black community. So therefore, we basically have to look at where this is heading if we don't basically talk about it. How Nasdeed then is starting the conversation for us. And so therefore the white supremacist media, they're upset about it because that basically stands in the way of their propaganda. And to which if you stand in their propaganda, then you become a threat to them making money off of the abuse of Black people. You understand? Watch this. There is another article by Medium.com that says that Terry Crews in Hollywood's 21st century butt breaking of Black men, him too, which was before Nasheed's movie came out. This article was written on January 13, 2019 by Charlie Peach. Okay, he's an independent thinker and unapologetically Black. Terry Crews had become Hollywood symbol of Black pride, literally. His recent Him Too claim of sexual assault by a white man has captivated him into social media and liberal Hollywood stardom. White liberals are all aghast at the supposed bravery that it took for him to admit that he was assaulted in front of his wife. However, the reality is that he has been lauded because of his words of the event served to emasculate and destroy the image of a hyper masculinity of the Black male. What better way to destroy the image and powerful force of might and brawn that the Black male psyche has been prided with than to have a brute 350-pound Black man admit that he allowed a gay white man to touch his genitals in front of his wife and restrain from knocking him out for doing so. You can bet that Crews will be rewarded handsomely for his act of cowardice and butt breaking. Hollywood is the 21st century butt-breaking slaveholder sex form that emasculate and destroy Black men into submission for access to money and fame. Okay? Goes on to write here that during slavery, the slaveholder will buy male slaves to engage in force on homosexual sex act. These male slaves were purchased based entirely on the prerequisite of them posing a large penis. possessing a large penis. Black men were routinely raped by their gay slave owners. The process was known as breaking the butt, carried out a butt-breaking sex form. It involves a strapping Negro slave who was defiant, was beaten with a whip till bloody in front of his entire slave congregation. The slave owner would cut down a tree and, with the help of the overseer, would then pummel the defiant buck into submission. Once the slave was worn down, the master had the other Negro slave force him over to the tree stump where his breeches would be removed and he will lay fully exposed buttocks. He will remove his own clothing and proceeded to savagely sodomize the buck in front of his wife, family, friends, and children. Now that you can see what Hollywood is doing, that's the reason why I tell you there's a difference between here. The music industry and the film business. Understand? Homosexuality and slavery. The history of Black homosexuality in America. It goes on to say here that in order for his plan to take effect, he will require the buck male child to watch, front row center, so he too can witness his father's sexual demise and humiliation. Butt breaking was the slave master's very effective tool to keep all young Black slaves from ever being defiant and taking revenge, and also frighten the mothers and wives from ever giving consent to an uprising. Butt breaking was so successful that it was made into a sex form where slave masters could travel from plantation to plantation, feeding their sadistic homosexual needs. Okay? And this was from Raz Tafari for the Racist Report Online magazine. Terry Crews' latest rant about R. Kelly and blaming Black men for not calling him out is beyond laughable when Crews have had access to a mic for decades and the power to do the loudly and impactful himself long before it was trending topic. Crews is comfortable in blaming Black men because that's acceptable by the white liberals and their agendas. However, we all know it's Black women who have been the protectors of all things R. Kelly, and it's Black women who have continued to support him no matter what. Crews also known that laying the blame where it squarely belonged at the feet of Black women would not be tolerated by Black feminazies and their white liberal handlers. Okay? The story of R. Kelly's sickness has been legendary since his relationship with Aaliyah. Where has Terry Crews' voice been, or John Legend and the rest of the trend-riding Negroes who are paid to peddle whatever their white handlers tell them to do? A legend is the music industry and known all too well of his history of pedophilia and rapists. And as John Legend joins the bandwagon to attack R. Kelly, he's about to be a part of the tribute to Elvis Presley, a known pedophile. Okay? Now, and then it got Terry Crews talking about on Twitter, crazy right. What's crazier? How long Black women were violated by R. Kelly and most Black men didn't give a damn. Then you had John Legend respond to everyone telling me how courageous I am for appearing in the doc. I didn't feel risky at all. I believe these women and don't give a fuck about protecting a serial child rapist. Easy decision. Okay. But see, he left out Harvey Weinstein. He left out Jeffrey Epstein. He left out a host of other white men who was accused of the same thing. So he didn't put them in there. And that's what you're supposed to do when you basically are your white handlers tell you what you're going to do and what your agenda is. Someone talk Black to me. 516-418-5867. That's the number to call in. ScrewTube says that although we're on a shadow ban, that we are basically are able to meet the monetization. So I'm gonna allow you all to chat in the live here. Whenever that happens. Whenever Street 2 give me the word on that. Right? You know, as I was coming on, I was talking about this film back in 2003, and we're going to get to Dr. Umar Johnson here and Kevin Samuels here in a minute. But we were talking about, when we came on, about the watermelon heist. John Amos and Corey Holcomb is in that. And in 2003, where we thought that John Amos was talking about why he really didn't, him and his wife at that point, who played his wife, I forget her name, is it Ella Rose or something like that? Someone in the chat room help me out. Let me go to it. Thumbs up. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's get the algorithm up here. Yeah, in Good Times, he did Good Times, right? And he was talking about Jimmy Walker's character, how Jimmy Walker's character was all crazy and it was kind of foolish, and him and Esther Roll, that's her name, Esther Roll. They didn't basically like the character of Jimmy Walker in Good Times. So they were talking about that. They were really upset about that. But then, almost 2 decades later, in 2003, John Amos decided that he will agree to do the movie The Watermelon Heist. And anything that comes from Maverick Entertainment, which is a low-budget distribution company, anybody who basically worked with Maverick Entertainment, all of the films that them people do, and it's a white man, he owns and controls that as well. They're saying here that these black TV studios or TV companies and corporations like Bounce TV and TV One, and of course we already know BET was sold to a white person, or to Paramount and Viacom, but now they're saying that Bounce TV and TV One is no longer really black owned. So they really got this agenda out here for us now, because black people keep on selling their TV and commercial product. Remember, we're going to be doing our show on by year 2053, where they suggest that black people are not going to have no wealth, because they're not going to be paying the basketball people who are coming from schools and being recruited by the NBA and all this. They're not going to be paying them in the future $240 million, $50 million, $100 million. They're not going to be paying them that much. When your LeBron James and all them go, they're fit to reduce how much they're paying a star, on the court. So in doing that, that means that because these brothers are not putting anything back in the black community, along with Oprah and all these other people, just ask Oprah, who is going to get her $2 billion? And I often stay on Oprah because it's very important. Who is going to get her $2 billion? All of her money is going to be tied up into probate. Is it going to be Stephen, if he's still alive, around? Is it going to be Gail Fell King? Who is going to get the $2 billion? That she don't have no children. So what we're saying is that there's nobody passing the billions and the millions of dollars onto children, onto black kids, onto the black wife or the black husband, whoever is living, after that person with the money dies. See, we have a problem like that in the black community. And this is going to be the reason then why by year 2053, whereas although white folks will be a minority in their own nation, they making sure that black people's numbers reduce in population and abomination, and they're also making sure that we are broke by that time. So even though they said, okay, you minorities, y'all going to be the majority of the country, but hell, we're going to still be richer than y'all. Because what we're going to be doing in 2053 is we're going to be taking your wealth, because we know that you Negroes don't like building things. Okay? And so therefore, that's the reason why I do critique Tariq and Dr. Umar Johnson here, because they're not helping us to build nothing, you know. So that's the reason why I often say that they're not a threat. But I like the fact that he did not use the studio here to do this film. I'm very impressed with that. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go ahead and talk here about today's subject here. And I don't need to play this because we already seen Dr. Johnson, Kevin Samuels talk about high-valued men, and black women were calling to his show, and he would basically tell them, he would ask them questions. How old are you? And then if they're over the age of 25, he would be like, you know, he would make some type of noise that suggests, uh-oh, you're in danger zone. And I like that because it does wake up certain types of black women and teaches them to educate themselves as to, as soon as you hit that 27, 28, close to 30 mark, you are in danger zone. Because the problem becomes is that if you don't prepare yourself to marry a man at that point, and then you get into your 30s and you're like, oh, well, I still have a chance. No, you don't. You may have a chance. A lot of women, you know, do have an opportunity to get married after 30 years old, and they will hope that that happens. But at some point, it really don't happen for a lot. I can basically count on my hands as to women getting a second chance of marriage, or even black women getting a second chance, or even getting married after their 30s. Okay. So Kevin Samuels really breaks down the effects of waiting too long, whereas he's right that if the more a man basically makes, the more that he is willing to then basically say, I want the youngest attractive woman in her 20s. And therefore, because he basically is rewarding himself with a woman who is in her prime. And so therefore, the high-value men often do look for women of that nature. Now, do I say that that's going to be compatible or is right? No. What I'm saying is that that's what they basically look for, especially when they have a lot of money and a lot of, they're high-valued and they're major corporation owners and stuff like this. And I want to say at this point is that when you look for a high-value man, a lot of these black women basically get the wrong expectations into guys. They basically think that they'll be able to control the man for a while they're basically having all kinds of gutter sex that they think that the man who have value don't know about. You know, there's a reason then why you basically is leaving a man out there to wait a while he's in a relationship, or while you're trying to basically get a man who you think is alpha. That particular situation then did not run the same way for the high-valued man who knows what your intentions are. You see, in other words, we got women who think black men are stupid, and that we have to settle after we make millions of dollars or become very much a high-valued man, that we're going to settle for anything just because you're a black woman. No, what you have to understand now is that it basically moves us up to another level. And I'm not saying that we should interracially date or marry, and I don't support that. But what I'm saying is that when black people, black men make money specifically, their options increase. It doesn't matter how old they are. A lot of black men, of course, in their primes are in 40s and 50s are in their prime, and they become high value. They get all kinds of resources. And now you have an issue there. They think, you think, okay, there's a woman, basically she's average. She's 37 years old. Yeah, she got her own house and she worked for White Daddy and she drives a good car. That's an average woman. Okay. She basically think, okay, I'm entitled to a black, average, an average man. And the average man that she thinks she's entitled to really don't exist for her. And that's the issue here. We have a lot of our women looking and expecting things that are not even there. That's what he's trying to get black men, women to realize. And so therefore, I basically like when he does that because it brings them down to the level of where they are. He basically matched them to where they are. So that, in that regard, he's correct. What I don't like about him is the fact that he basically appeals to everybody when attacking black women. That's what I don't like. Because the problem is that when it comes to our issues, we don't need everybody into our issues because everybody else is in competition. Okay, you even got women who are in competition to even take black men away from black women. Okay, and that's the reason why he